Okay, my Ready to Love fans, yes, we got to talk about this crazy episode. So, one lifeline get used. We get more romance between couples more than ever. And there is a very confrontational date set up between Morgan and Blake. Welcome back to Romance Review TV. It's Lady T. I got another recap for you guys. Ready to Love, Season 7, Episode number 8, Queens Don't Chase. And without any further ado, let's talk about this episode. So coming off of last week's episode, we got Andre back, which threw a monkey wrench into some of the ladies' connections, especially when it came to Cynthia and Jeffrey. Well, we are now back, and before this looming elimination, we did have this whole reiterating of this thing between Jeffrey and Blake. I am over it. Nobody has produced any receipts. Sue-Ann is pretty much trying to advocate for herself and Blake, which does not sit well for Morgan. And I don't know how Morgan got into this, because for a while we never really heard anything from her regarding Blake, but we are going to hear a lot this episode. However, he told them start connecting because we're about to eliminate. So we did see where Blake confirmed that his interest is getting stronger with Sue-Ann. We see Tony and Jonique having a ball with each other, and his connection is really growing closer and closer with Jonique. With Andre being back, of course, Jeffrey is happy about that, and Andre is happy to see Jeffrey as well. So look like that's getting solid. However, when it comes back to Morgan and her situation with Anthony, she's saying he's not giving enough. He is just not giving energy to say what you're going to do, who you're interested in. And to Morgan's dismay, she's pretty much over Anthony. So, and he's like, well, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? I don't know what to do. I mean, I think the ladies want you to be intentional. Then we had this conversation with Lyndon and Jonique, and she pretty much laughed and clowned with him as they were having, good fun as friends, because he was now put in the friend zone by Mercedes. And so she was rolling about that. However, we also see Andre had to address Mercedes because while he was out dealing with COVID, she did not check in up on him at all.
I honestly thought out of sight, he's out of mind, and then we have a lot of stuff going. So for me, it just wasn't my first priority.
That says it all.
It was.
I was hurt to the core. That's cold. Now I see who you are, and I want nothing with you.
So it seems as if the other ladies checked in on him, but Mercedes, no. And at this point, he is done. So then we have Morgan trying to figure out what's going on with Tony, because at this point, she's wondering where she stands with him, and that it seems like she's trying to deem him as being too charming and a player. That conversation is going to continue in a date later on. However, Tommy's back. He deliberates with the men first, and then he also deliberates with the ladies as well to come up with a decision of who, one man, one woman, is going to be up for elimination. And so now, as he stands in front of everybody and pretty much pull everybody out, he starts with the men first. And first up is Anthony and Mark Anthony. They are up for elimination. However, they were actually saved with the lifeline. Whereas with Blake, he was shocked that he wasn't up for elimination again. And of course, Anthony was surprised. And then the lifeline went to Mark Anthony, which he, of course, was happy about. However, Morgan was not happy that Blake wasn't in the elimination part of this, and she wants him gone for whatever reason, and we'll see that confrontation later. However, now it's up for the ladies, and no surprise, it was Jonique and Sue-Ann. And however, because Sue-Ann only has one connection, and that's Blake. But Jonique gets eliminated from the four since the women save Mark Anthony using the lifeline. However, with the men not using on their lifeline, it did upset somebody, Cynthia. But as shown thus far, Janique wasn't really making any romantic connections. Lyndon as a friend, and Tony, well, he was going back and forth with Morgan in such a way that cutting Jonique off was simply to help calm a side of Morgan that he may not like. So let's focus on some dates and some romance. So I know we've been heavily on the drama with these folks, but Sue Ann, for example, gets a date with Anthony at his house, and while he still stumbles at times, he is really trying to live up to what the women want, which is a man who will take the initiative and make them feel liked or loved or just plain old attractive. However, which is something Mark Anthony seems to be a pro at, because he gets a lipstick smearing kiss from both Jeffrey and Mercedes. With Jeffrey, things look like it's a little deep. I mean, she reveals that she has Crohn's disease, and his being empathetic and sweet leads to the two of them getting closer than ever. And it may complicate her top three, since Andre and Blue are nice and all, but Mark Anthony knows all of the right things to say and when to say it. And with Mercedes, it is through their chemistry, their flirting, and having a high school romance vibe going on. They're looking good together. And I mean, I honestly myself see a lot more chemistry with him and Mercedes. Now, even though things got a little deep with Jeffrey, I do see that fun chemistry vibe when it comes to Mercedes and Mark Anthony. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what direction Mark Anthony is going to go when it comes down to who he decides between Jeffrey and Mercedes. Which now leads us to Tony and Morgan. Now, while Morgan has Lyndon, Tony is clearly her top, and she's a bit possessive, it looks like, when it comes to him. Now, she even pushes the idea that he needs to cut off all of the other girls that he has a connection with and focus on her, which Tony is not committing to. But Morgan is sure of what they have and seems to believe things will end in her favor. Not all the time, because she knows Tony is still getting around, but more and more she is willing herself into the idea that maybe Tony will fully eventually commit to her. Now, we're going to follow up on Andre's criticism of Mercedes not checking in on him. She pretty much just shrugged it off by noting that her approach was based on him being out of sight and out of mind, which of course that hurt him, but seeing how she is, he's willing to let it go. As for Anthony, while he does kind of rebound with Sue Ann, both Marcia and Morgan lay into him for a bit, not being good with following up and being a little bit too chill. And after all, they consider themselves queens who should not have to be chased. And with his nonchalant attitude, and in Morgan's case, having that phone conversation one night, then it appears that she's being ignored the next day. That was totally unacceptable. However, Morgan, she is not through. She's been on a rampage this entire episode. First Tony and also Anthony, and now she decides to address Blake for while he wasn't in the bottom two, and she alongside some of the other ladies used the lifeline. She still doesn't like it that Blake is still here. However, Blake set this up to clear the air with Morgan so they can pretty much move on, but it did not go well.
I told you how I was feeling about, the initial mixer and how I felt about our conversation. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about it?
I apologize for making you feel how you felt, but I don't know exactly what I said that drew the emotion for you.
Okay.
So, for me, I think it would be helpful just to better understand you, to kind of know what it was that was said that made you feel the way that you were feeling. Let's pull that apart. Let's have a conversation over it.
But you apologized. How could you apologize for something if you don't know what you did?
Because I can apologize. If you tell me what you said to me was really hurtful.
I didn't say you hurt me.
I know that I hurt you. I can see that it...
You did not hurt me.
Okay. Whatever it was.
I said you were not kind.
Okay.
Yeah, that didn't hurt me. I had to clear that up, right? You attacked me because I said I wanted a family. Your exact words were, so basically you're not gonna be happy until you have kids. And I don't know where you got that from. And I told you that I was the most happiest now today that I've ever been in my life. I don't need a man or children or anything else to make me happy. I have all that I need. Yeah, I felt like you tried to kind of talk me into a corner that day. You also said that 80% of the things that I feel like I want out of life, I won't get if I have a child. I want to know who hurt you.
Nobody hurt me. I have kids already. So most people that have kids, share the same sentiment.
You also mentioned that you felt the way about the whole Jeffrey situation, as far as the whole double life and all those things.
I was okay with not addressing it, but it's a situation that kept coming up, and it seemed to start to grow like a cancer.
I feel that way about you, and I don't think you're a benign cancer either. I think you're malignant. I don't think you have good intentions for being here. I don't find you honest. I feel like you're lying to these women, and it's not fair. These are beautiful women that are genuinely looking for love. I feel like you're toying with these women's emotion, and I don't think you deserve to be here. It's disgusting to me.
Okay, so can I speak now? You got that out?
Yep.
You haven't spoken to me, and you've had no interest in talking to me. So your opinion really matters not to me. So you can feel the way that you feel. I respect it. Move on, follow your match. We don't have to even go through this. I wish you the best of luck.
Okay.
I think Morgan came into this date with an agenda. And, I took it for what it was, just a one-sided statement. And I was okay with that. We fine, let's move on.
Well, I'm gonna go. It was not so nice talking to you. I hope I don't see you anymore, because I think that these women deserve a better man than you.
So she absolutely had nothing positive to say about him and tells him to his face. And she was not happy that Blake had assumed that he hurt her. She didn't like the apology, and she kind of doubled down on, what makes him so offensive to her and some of the other ladies on the show. Now, from what we've seen, he's only really been interacting with Sue Ann. And all of the other ladies have been pretty much focused on their own personal connections. We still haven't seen any receipts from Jeffrey on the situation. And then in regards to the whole children's conversation, that's a very sensitive topic. There are people who have children who don't want to go into a relationship with other people's children. There are blended families who don't have problems with that. And then you have the flip side where somebody don't have kids who don't want to be with somebody who do. So, I don't know. I got to go back and look at that whole conversation to see what she found offensive about it. But it's just interesting that people, especially with this age group of 30 and above, you probably are going to have a mixed group of people that have children already. I think he has 3 kids already, and I think she wants children. And that's fine. So basically, she probably is going to need to pair up with somebody who also wants children. If Blake doesn't want any children, he need to find somebody who don't want to have additional kids at this point in life. And I think he's 42. So, it is what it is. These type of conversations don't offend me because I know everybody is not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm okay with that. I've said that on the Married at First Sight recap I did this past Wednesday when they were talking about who's attracted to who. Everybody has a lot of different things that they want in their lives, what they don't want in their lives, and what they're attracted to and what they're not attracted to. So, at this point, I just think everybody just needs to move on. We are now probably over halfway through the season. People need to be focusing on who their connections with. Morgan has quite a few, so I think that's where the focus is going to need to be, and then let everybody else figure out their own thing. Okay, so what could come up in the elimination next go round? With the guys, Morgan is going to make it her mission to get Blake out. So more than likely, he'll be one of the bottom 2. And Anthony will probably join him unless he kind of improve beyond Sue Ann. However, with the women, Marcia, Sue Ann. If Sue Ann is eliminated, more than likely, Blake is going to self-eliminate because his connection is so strong with her. And Andre, we probably have to see because he came in and kind of messed that up with the quota. Now, the final couples, Sue Ann and Blake probably is going to make it to the reunion show. Mark Anthony and somebody. It could be either Jeffrey or Mercedes. One of those two. And then Morgan and Tony is probably going to make it to the end, but probably going to be broken up maybe by the time the reunion hits because she's going to be keeping an eye like a hawk on Tony and his movement. So we'll have to see. Okay, so let's get the conversation started down in the comment section. What do you think about our couples now coming together? This whole thing with Blake, can we just move on? What are your thoughts about that? I mean, if they don't like him, they don't like him. Focus on your connections. The purpose of this game is to build connections and leave out of here with a relationship. So I want to know what you guys think. So I hope you enjoyed this recap. Stay tuned for other recaps on this channel. Till the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.